You hear me? No. Good evening. Can you guys hear me? No?
Test 1, 2. Bring it up, son. Test 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Remember, I have bass. She doesn't. All right.
I got a little bit of bass if I want to.
Hey, y'all. Hey. Hey. Good evening, everybody. And thank you for being here tonight. I am Cameron Preston. I'm the Director of Communications and Public Information for the City of College Park. Some of you know me, some of you don't. Feel free to call me. Many of you have attended town hall meetings within the various wards where you live, but it's been a while since the mayor has hosted a citywide town hall. So that's why you're all here tonight. And we are thrilled to have you here at the College Park Public Safety Complex for this special town hall that's going to be hosted by your mayor, Bianca Motley Broom. Now, before we begin, I want to point out a couple of things. And emergency exits, hopefully one of them we won't need and the other one you're welcome to use. Right back out the door is the restroom right against that wall, and emergency exit public safety complex. So hopefully if we do some of you guys who sign in and look at that 3-minute clock should be cheering a little bit louder. There are no limits on time. I'm like a pastor looking for an amen, but that's okay. But be mindful, please, of everyone's time, and everyone does have questions and concerns. So we're trying to be out of here by 9:30 p.m., not 2:30 a.m. But your mayor, Bianca Motley Broom, is open to staying for as long as it takes to hear all of your concerns, okay? So when you came in, there was a QR code at the front. If you have not seen it, we have a couple that we can float through the audience. That's one way that you can submit your questions during the event. And you're also welcome to ask your questions live once we get to that portion of the evening. So now it's my honor to introduce your host. She's going to provide some key updates and share her insights on important community matters. Without further ado, Mayor Bianca Motley Broom.
Thank you so much, Cameron, and thank you to all of you for being here. Because, as I say all the time, we are always building the community that we deserve. And that is you. That is all of us coming together to build that community. It's not one of us, it is all of us. So this is a great turnout. I'm excited to see everyone. I know there's questions. I have some from folks that submitted questions before we came. We'll be taking them throughout the evening. We've got a microphone going through. As Cameron said, I will be here answering questions until you don't have any more questions, because you deserve that. We deserve to be having an open, honest dialogue about all the things that are going on in our great city. And there are some fantastic things going on in the city of College Park, and we will be talking about some of those things with some special guests. I do want to let you know ahead of time, I did invite Interim City Manager Emmanuel Adediran. Unfortunately, he accepted that invitation, but today at 3:25, he said he would not be able to attend due to a personal emergency. So unfortunately, Dr. Adediran won't be able to join us this evening, but I'm sure we will hear from him at another date. You will also hear from the good folks from the Promise Career Institute very shortly. The new principal of the Promise Career Institute, Principal Bell, and the new zone superintendent, who was the principal of the Promise Career Institute, are going to tell you some of the great updates that are going on there. You are going to hear from Cameron as well to talk a little bit about open records requests, because I know that some folks have been submitting those and it's been a little bit frustrating, and she's going to give you a little bit of an update about what's going on there. And hopefully you'll hear from Warren Hutmacher, who is conducting our city manager search. However, he had a meeting at 5 o'clock in Winder. He has given me an update about where things are, but we're really hoping he can make it. So he had to finish up that meeting before he was going to come here. So hopefully he gets there in time, and I won't have to stand in for him to give you that information. But we will also talk about what's going on with the pedestrian bridge, what's going on with 6 West, what's going on with Bill Evans Field, and anything else you want to talk about tonight, because I'm here to serve you. And I want to hear what you are thinking and what's on your mind as we move forward. But for those of you who may not know how to contact me, you could probably just stand along Main Street and I'll go walking eventually. I do want to point you to my website, mayorbianca.com. I send out updates there. And also your opportunity, I do it every single month. I do one-on-ones. And actually, my one-on-ones for next month, or for this month, are tomorrow. So you can call 404-669-3755. Again, that's 404-669-3755 to sign up for a one-on-one time. And I am happy to sit down with you and chat. And if you go to mayorbianca.com, you can see an opportunity to sign up for my newsletter. Just went out this morning, or this afternoon, with a reminder about tonight's event, and also an opportunity, unfortunately, my appointee to keep College Park beautiful has decided to do some other things, so I'm looking for a new appointee. So if you are interested, please send me an email and let me know of your interest, because I would love to have you serve our community in that capacity. So, I want to tell you a little bit about what I've been up to in representing you. We just got back from the Georgia Municipal Association annual convention 2 weeks ago, and I was elected first vice president of the Georgia Municipal Association. But what that means for you is that I have the opportunity to travel our amazing state. There are 536 cities, soon to be 537 with the incorporation of Mulberry and Gwinnett County. And we get to go and see some of the great work that's happening all over Georgia. There are cities that are doing outstanding work in every corner of this state. And being involved with GMA has allowed me to see some of that really, really wonderful work happening. And it has been phenomenal. So it has been a great opportunity, as well as my board membership on the National League of Cities. And I was out in California last month with their summer leadership conference, where I got an opportunity to visit Loomis, California, which is a population of about 6,000, and somehow these folks have managed to nail a Costco, which is my personal dream, because I'm slightly obsessed with Costco. If you know anything about me, the folks at Costco know me very, very well. But just learning how the community balanced being a small town with this rather large box store, and how to keep that identity as you continue to develop the community. And that's going to be one of our challenges with 6 West, right? As we bring in bigger, different things, how do we still maintain that identity that makes us College Park? So it was a great opportunity to learn a lot more. And the rock wall. I know Ms. Johnson is here. Hello, Ms. Johnson. How are you? Michelle Johnson. She is our Director of Recreation and Cultural Arts. You want to wave? Yeah, she's great. As some of you may know, there were some conversations about the rock wall in the Tracy Wyatt Recreation Center earlier this year and whether or not to keep it or tear it down. And we heard you. We heard you loud and clear. And I want to be completely transparent. All of you made that change. And that's the way it should be. We should be listening to our community and responding. And it was hands down, just to a person, we want to keep this asset in our community. In fact, we don't only want to keep it, we want to build upon it. So I think you'll see come August, I think they're shooting for a date. I probably don't want to quote the date because it's not entirely the 17th. Yep. Okay, I quoted it. August 17th, there's going to be a grand reopening of the rock wall. And I know that Kai Leitner, who was instrumental in getting it in our community, is going to be there. I know that he is bringing some folks from Adidas, and there'll be some giveaways and some opportunities, and I'm definitely going to climb. I don't know about the rest of you, but let's use it. Because there is no other community on the South Side that has this type of amenity. We should embrace it. It is an amazing asset, and I am so thankful to each and every one of you who stepped up, who said, this is important to me, this is important to our community, and we want to keep it. We want to build on the things that we have, grow our community, and have the opportunity to do even more amazing things. And so to that end, talking about amazing things, I want to talk about Principal Bell and Superintendent Jason Stamper, because they are doing amazing things in our community with the Promise Career Institute. And I think that you had the opportunity to grab a folder before you came in to learn a little bit more about the school, but we are getting very, very close to opening, and I want them to reintroduce themselves to the community and answer any questions you might have and tell you a little bit more about the Promise Career Institute.
Good evening. So I'm Jason Stamper. I am this long time on this job, long tenured now for about 3 weeks. I've been the zone superintendent for Zone 2. Fortunate enough that the opportunity came along. I was kidding with Yolanda, who is really amazing. I want to tell you a little bit more about her, and she's going to present some things about the Promise Career Institute to you. But I was kind of seeing the project go along, and as we kind of got the certificate of occupancy to go in, and I was like, dang, I'm not even gonna be able to open a school. I'm jealous of her now. Like, I'm literally. And so, no, but it's, people don't realize how much it means to the community, how it means to the students. When we have parents that come through, they're so excited about this program. We actually had to reach out to Mayor Motley Broom the other day. We had over 500 people to RSVP for our orientation. So Yolanda and the team, they've just did an amazing job with orientation. People are so excited. And so historically, when this program came up, Yolanda and her team, they came to the different schools spreading awareness about what at that time was called Middle College. And I was at Banneker, and I was like, wow, that's a great program. And so I actually reached out to Yolanda. I was like, well, can you tell me more about this program? And she had this slide deck she didn't want to share with me. I think she was trying to not be. No, but I became principal, and it's kind of very apropos that she's becoming principal, and she's just a wealth of knowledge, a passion for the program, knowledgeable about the program. With no further ado, I want her to bring her up and just talk more about the program as the Promise Career Institute principal. And I'm gonna sit down over there. I'll leave when I go.
Thank you, Dr. Stamper. Good evening. My name is Yolanda Bell, and I am the 2-week-old proud principal of the Promise Career Institute. I just want to let you know how excited I am to be the principal, how excited I am to be in this community. I wanted to give you a little bit of background about myself. I'll give a quick update of what's been happening at the PCI, and then we'll talk a little bit about the first day and then how you can connect with me. So I am a 20-year educator. This is my 20th year in education. I started off 10 years in Gwinnett County Public Schools. I taught marketing education, and then I came to Fulton County Schools in 2014. My first day in Fulton County, they laid out the architectural plans for the Fulton Schools College and Career Academy. And they said, this is your project. And I said, this is great, so let's change it up. So we made some changes, and that was the first school that I co-created for Fulton County. After that, I worked on Innovation Academy, I worked on Global Impact Academy, and then my last project was the Promise Career Institute. So for a lot of the other schools, I created this innovative program, and I was at the district office, so then I had to hand it to the principal and then just be there as a thought partner. But in this school, I get to lead it too. So to have been on this journey for 2 years, from inception to be able to lead it is amazing. It is very powerful, and it is very purposeful. I feel like it is purposeful that I have been called to lead at the Promise Career Institute. So I just wanted to let you all know that and share that with you, because I wanted you to know that this is personal for me, because I've been part of the planning for the past couple years. It's also personal for me because of the outcomes. So at the Promise Career Institute, our mission and goal is built around providing college credits for students. And it is mandatory, it's not optional, that our students are going to get up to 32 college credits for free, tuition free. So that is very personal for me. My mother was an educator. My father worked for IBM. He actually holds a patent with IBM. So the conversations about preparing students for the workforce have been kitchen table conversations in my family since I was about 10 years old. So again, I just have a very vested personal interest in the success of the school. We have had an amazing couple days, or actually a couple weeks, the last few weeks, in making sure that our school is up and ready for the first bell, which is August 1st. So last week we had 9th through 11th grade orientation. We had about 400 students through the building and their parents, and then we ended it with an ice cream social. So it was just amazing to see the students get to go through the building. I have provided you with a packet of information so you can see some semblance of the tour that we were giving to our students and the different spaces and programs that we have. What we chose to do at the Promise Career Institute, again, I'm going to use the term purposeful, because the programs that we're offering there are high demand, high wage, in high interest jobs. And those are the jobs and those are the careers that we know from Metro Atlanta that students should be interested in and going into, that will lead to a great career. So again, I just want to thank the mayor for having me here today. I also want to bring greetings from our school board. Ms. Dove and Ms. Gregory couldn't be here tonight, but they have also toured the school. They are fully behind the promise of the Promise Career Institute. And so our first day, the first bell, is August 5th. Can you believe it's back to school already? We've already seen all the school supplies in our stores, right? So it's going to come before we know it. We have teachers coming in the building. We have teachers so dedicated that they're coming in for pre-planning next week, a week before pre-planning actually starts, because they are so dedicated to making sure that our students have the support that they need. And then I also wanted to share with you, before the Promise Career Institute was there, it was McLaren Success Academy. And Frank McLaren was very instrumental to our community. He was a very big educator in our community. We already have a mock-up of a plaque that is going to go up in the school. We're also talking about other ways to honor his legacy outside of the plaque, but also we're having an early learning center too, where we're going to help our own talent pipeline of early childhood education, not just all the other industries. So if you go to our website, just Google the Promise Career Institute. My contact information is there. We had a community meet and greet last week, but we will be having a couple more school tours so we can get everybody into the building. I would love to connect with you. My goal was to kind of walk up and down Main Street and meet all the small businesses. I needed the temperature to come down just a little bit. Just a little bit. But I will definitely be walking up and down to meet the businesses and restaurants. And so, again, I just thank you for having me. We are really excited about the promise of the Promise Career Institute. We have around 350 students that are enrolled for the first time for the inaugural cohort. So it's just going to be an amazing school. Thank you for having us in the community, and thank you for being our community partner.
Doesn't it? Okay, hold on. Let's get you a microphone. Let's get you a microphone.
Are you currently accepting applications?
So we keep the application link live. We do have a wait list now. So if you do have anybody that's interested in applying, they can apply now. But right now we do have a wait list.
So I have a reminder that the Historic College Park Neighborhood Association is meeting at your facility on September 10th. Our meeting will be there, and we're also scheduled to do a tour of the building.
That's great. Can't wait to have you in the building.
You have to meet me halfway, man.
Thank you for being here. And I don't want to make this about anything other than academics and your success, but I'm curious. College Park is in the process of selling off fields. I'm curious, what sports do you plan to offer? And does this move by the city impact any future plans that you have for sports teams?
So we don't offer any sports at the Promise Career Institute. The only really sport that we're doing is esports and gaming, because we're also offering an IT program that consists of cybersecurity and networking. So students under the Georgia High School Athletic Association can go to their zone school to do sports. So they will be doing the sports at their zone school. Thank you for that question. Oh. So one of, the curriculum of the Promise Career Institute is called the Accelerated Career Diploma. It is an abbreviated diploma where students take 2 language arts classes, 2 math, 2 social studies, 2 science, and their health and PE. So students will be taking the health and PE credit if they need it, and that's what makes up their high school diploma. And then they have to take 2 technical certification credits that lead to high wage, high demand, high interest pathways, including networking, digital media and production, animation technology, diesel technology, automotive, avionics technology, welding, logistics, cybersecurity, and networking. What'd you say? Oh, there you go. And there is a packet of information. If you weren't able to pick it up before you came in, I brought about 50 packets. And so it should be some more outside, and it has a list of our programs on the back of it, along with our mission and vision and core values, and just some other information about our school. All right, thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, well, I'm excited. I got a chance to take a tour last week, and the building is phenomenal. It is so exciting what's going on in there, and just the space that the students are going to have to explore all of their interests. It looks like a college campus, and it's designed that way. And so I know that whether you go for the HCP&A meeting in September, we're still in July, if you go for that meeting, or if you get another chance to tour the facility, I would really encourage you to do it, because there's been a heck of a lot of an investment in that building. I think it's to the tune of about $35 million, is that right? I'm so sorry, $42 million. So I would definitely encourage you to take a look. So where is Cameron? Oh, hello, Cameron. Hello. Would you like to talk a little bit about open records?
All right, let's talk about open records. A few of us in here, you and I, we talk about open records several times a week. But gonna just break down a few things about open records in general. Why am I talking about open records as the communications director? First of all, one, because you need to know the information, but two, because I am also the department head over the city clerk's office while we do not have a formal city clerk. So I am the manager of that department. So I manage the now person and administrative people who are in that office. So I have that information. So open records, sometimes it's a sore subject, and you have the right to request those. What I want you guys to all do is think small town. We are doing a lot. We have $42 million that we were just talking about, but we are still a small town. I've had some interesting conversations with some of you who believe that it's a James Bond movie in the back of where we work, that there's eyeball scans and all sorts of things. But it really is just a small department who is handling your requests. They go to the office and there's a mandated process. At no point can we just pull out something and hand it to you. It goes through a process. And that process has a queue right now, and I apologize for that. But one thing I want to address is the 3-day window. A lot of you have said, I'm supposed to get this within 3 days. And I have researched that, I understand, and I invite any of you to challenge the ambiguous language, but the longstanding process and what they're saying here is that the request has to be answered within 3 days. By that third day, somebody needs to get back to you to say how long it will take to open that record, because all of those records are different. There's not one set standard. It takes a different amount of time, and it depends on what type of request that it is. And any request that needs an extension is automatically kicked into a 2-week extension. So I know a lot of you have gotten that email as well. Currently, any open records request that comes in gets kicked into that status right away, a 2-week extension. So you get the notice by 3 days that your open records request will take an additional 2 weeks to what it would take. So some of the records are behind for various reasons. Some of them are behind because some of them are still being transcribed by the services that we used. As many of you know, as all of you know, we've had some pretty long meetings, some pretty intense meetings. A lot of information has gone forth, and some of the people that you see taking those minutes and transcribing those things, they are far, far, far behind. And they have brought that up. I'm transparency, and they've had meetings with us. They've said that they can't hear over the over-talking. They have to make out what's being said, and they have to put it there as a public record, so their records have to be accurate. And we're using one of the best resources that's out there. So they are trying to do due diligence in getting those things to us. So if some of you have open records requests on ordinances, resolutions, meeting minutes, et cetera, then those are some of the ones that might be behind. There are some requests that simply can't be provided because they're not part of the city, but let me break down the process for you real quick. You do your open records request online. That request is then routed to the appropriate department to answer that request. That department will look at it and release the documents related to that request. The clerk's office reviews and redacts information, and then they package it and they send it. And that's basically the process. Easy on a good day. Some of those records are stored in a vault, and the others are on Laserfish. Each of them takes a process to open. Some of these email requests, actually all email requests, can only be pulled by the heads of IT. When you send that request, if it's for emails or a chain of emails, it can't be sent and pulled by Queenie, by myself, or anyone else. Only the heads of IT can go back into that information and pull that information. Once they do that, it trickles down through those questions that may be part of that request. And again, there is a queue. The nature of some requests would need a subpoena. Some people want to know, hey, I need everybody's badge swipe that came in the door at whatever hour. Well, some of that is information about who left their area and went to the restroom. So some of these things, you have to have a reason to have those. They would need a subpoena. Others would be a security breach, such as where's every single camera in the building? Well, some of those cameras are placed for people's safety, and if you told people where they were, they could disable them, they could disarm them. So we want to make sure that we're being safe with some of those. And now on to some of the email requests that come in. Some of the requests we get are from January 4th through June, January 4th through July, January 4th through May. Those requests, some of those have up to 87,000 emails attached to them. Most of them have at least 1,000 emails attached to them, averaging 1,000 to 3,000. Some of those that are just 3,000 have taken up to 10 hours to download, and the person has to sit there and actually then go through them for those hours. Additionally, there's a cost to those emails being pulled. The first 10 pages are free, and the first 15 minutes are free. After that, it is 10 cents for each page, and then, everybody get your calculators out. After that first 15 minutes and 10 pages and 10 cents, then it is an hourly rate at the hourly salary of the lowest paid person who could pull that record. I didn't make it up, I am the messenger, that's how it's been done. It was news to me when I found that out. So that equation and that timetable sometimes varies. You'll get a response within 3 days telling you how long your request should take. And like I said, right now it kicks into 2 weeks. And some of those requests are very, very long, and there is a line. Some of them seem very easy, like I could pull it out of my pocket. But there are processes and procedures that we have to follow to keep it fair for everybody. I hate coming up here and being the bearer of this news and being the messenger, the one who gets to be the spin doctor, but that's what I signed up for. This is the process, and if you have any other questions, do feel free to call me. Do feel free to ask in detail if you want to about any other part of that process, but that's what I know and that's what I can share with you. I wish I had a joke to end on a happy note, because I know this is not great information and many of you are waiting for some very important information, and we respect that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Cameron. If anyone has any, I don't want to get into I submitted a request for blah, blah, blah on X date, but if there's any general questions for Cameron about the process. Oh, your contact info?
Sure. My name is Cameron with a K, and then a classic spelling, Kameron. My last name is Preston, Preston. And my email address is cameron.preston@collegeparkga.com. My direct cell phone number with the city is 470-371-4816. Feel free to call me or text me. 470-371-4816.
Yes. So with all the open records requests that have not been answered, not getting into specifics, there is a specific penalty for them. And the question, I guess, A, is shouldn't the city manager, given the amount of requests, hire additional staff, contract or otherwise, to handle the request? Because at some point after 2 weeks or 3 days that the request is not answered, is actionable. And the penalties can be $1,000 per per violation. So it would seem to me that it would be more cost effective to hire staff to handle them. And I know this is not your question, but you could take it back to him. He's not here today. Instead of having an action or actionable lawsuits that could be pending for all the open recs requests that are still pending.
And I will take that question back to our city manager. And again, as the mayor apologized, he was invited here so that he could answer those questions directly. We do have a few different staffing searches going right now for key positions, one of which is another city clerk. And that person will obviously head that department and be in charge of staffing that department and making sure that all processes are caught up. Unfortunately, when we lost our city clerk, it was an immediate thing. It happened unexpectedly, and things were immediately shifted to, well, they weren't immediately shifted to Queenie, who you all know. That also went through a process of how do we handle this, and that put some things behind. And we've actually been exponentially behind since that point. So I will take that question back to the city manager and to the people who are handling our search to find out if that is their plan and how far away we are from that.
Yeah, I think you're talking about pages and cost per page and cost per hour, but why can't you just do an electronic dump to a jump drive? I'd give you the jump drive and just, instead of downloading it and printing it, download it in just electronic form. It's already in electronic form. Put it on the jump drive.
That's actually how it would get to you, is electronic, and it's the process that's backed up. I say the same thing every time I walk in that office, like, why can't we just pull everything and send it? But it does have to be pulled by IT. It does have to go through that redaction process, and then it's packaged, and when I say packaged, it's packaged for an electronic send.
So when you say 10 cents a page, that was in the days when you actually had to print these things out.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even want them in printed form because I can do an electronic search on a copy. So why are you charging 10 cents a page for a bit?
That's a great question, and that is an antiquated process. I do understand that, and so that's something we would have to bring before. Is that something we would bring before council? Okay, that's something that we would have to discuss. I will have to take that to the city manager. We'll have to put it on as an agenda item to bring before council to change that process, because we are using electronic means. So if you say, what is a page? Is it a PDF page? What is the process?
It makes it easier for everybody, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I apologize that I can only hear your questions.
Right.
It's this lady's show. I can only hear your questions, and I apologize the city manager's not here to answer those questions that would go to him. Okay, sure. Oh, the microphone.
You mentioned the process of having to have the IT manager involved. Is that a requirement in every city in Georgia? Is that something that College Park came up with? Why is that level of scrutiny necessary?
Is he here? Security?
I can answer the first half, it's not something that happens in every city in Georgia. That's our internal process.
And it's for security. We have a great IT security. We actually just got a new person today who will be helping to handle IT security. So that's an awesome thing. He just came on board. So that's why. Mm-hmm. Anything else that's relevant?
Yes,
Go ahead.
real quick question. You said that they were transcribing all the notes. There's so many apps out there that will transcribe what is verbally said. Are we using that, or someone's actually listening to it?
We have a person who is listening, so I say transcribe, and then there's...
These apps are dirt cheap that you can use that will track, because my job uses one.
It's the accuracy that we...
It's very accurate. Very accurate.
The council wanted to keep an actual court reporter. So we have someone at our council meetings who is talking into a device that is actually, she's putting forth what we're saying, and then she's making a transcript of it.
And then they do go back and they listen and they watch the video and they take the notes that are transcribed and they put that all together, and then we get our records. So again, that would be a process that would have to be undone to use what you mentioned.
And I think that there were, yes, right there, question in the middle.
You mentioned about charging for open records. I know that's on the website, and has anybody ever actually been charged before? Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, well, I hope that answered some of your questions. Thank you, Cameron. Appreciate your time. I want to give our Director of Customer Service, you're not a director, you're the Manager of Customer Service, William Scott, an opportunity to tell you a little bit about a new program that we're doing. And because I know there were some questions about folks who are paying their bills online, there's a new line in that payment schedule, and Mr. Scott's going to tell you a little bit more about it, how we can power up our neighbors. Mr. Scott?
Thank you so much. As the mayor alluded to you all, we have a new program, Let's Power Up Our Neighbors. It's totally 100% voluntary and optional, but to be transparent, we have to smooth out some user-friendly customer-facing issues with that. We've had some problems because it's so new. We've been in what we call beta testing, where we haven't notified everyone. We just want to see how the process would flow through, and we've gotten some tremendous feedback. We had the workflow taken care of for accounting and the money, and I just want to let you all know that unsolicited, we've already collected over $4,000. We have issued to date $950. And one small story I would like to tell, we have a senior that they were current on their bill, but they were just having some issues with other expenses. So we were able to give her $50, and she was able to buy groceries for that month. So you all are doing a tremendous job with this. And this, like I say, this is unsolicited. So now that we have the go-ahead from the finance team with the workflow, with the technical team, with all of the setup, and we're working with the vendor to polish up that user-friendly, to give some safeguards so that when you go onto the site, you know that this is a donation line, this is not for your utilities. So thank you for your patience. Thank you also in advance for your participation, and you are making a tremendous difference. Yes. If you are in need of assistance with your utility from the program, you can, we're going to have it online, but right now you can come in. We have a grants coordinator that would take you through the process that you can sign up for. We do have some requirements, but this is something that we're trying to give the money. As soon as we get it, we're trying to give this money away. So we're looking at any aspect we can to assist you and give you. We're looking to give it to you, not to try to restrict you from this program. So again, this is a tremendous program. We've given money in all of the different wards, so this is not just going to Ward 1, Ward 3. We've given money all across, and we'll be doing another batch next week as well, probably another $1,000. So this, again, this is a tremendous program. Any questions? We have a press release that we have in the back, but we also have for everyone that you can read through. My name is William Scott. I'm in City Hall at any given time. If you have any questions, you can come and talk with me. I'm there, and we can address any questions there that you may not want to talk about now. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes, forgive me for being blind here, but you're saying there is now online, I can make a donation when I make my utility bill, but I'm still having to pay my utility bill. Is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am. This is a roundup program. So just say your utility bill is $50. You can choose to pay $1 over, $5 over, $10 over, and that will go strictly to the program. We're using existing infrastructure, so there are almost zero fees that's added on. This is money coming in, pretty much 100% going out to assist the
That's
customer.
lovely. That's wonderful. But I still give you a paper check because I resent having to pay a fee online to pay my utility bill. I would much rather have that $3, $4 that I have to pay you to take my money and donate it somewhere. That's just ridiculous.
And we do have
It is ridiculous.
We do have in-person donation as well. You can come up to the cashier window, and as the customer just alluded to, instead of paying the online fee, you can use that to contribute if that's what you choose.
But you have to come in.
Yes, ma'am, in-person
Yeah.
donation.
So the onus is on the person that wants to make a generous donation to someone that needs it, because we need to pay a fee for College Park to take our money instead of giving that money to someone who might need it. That's still ridiculous, but I appreciate your answer
No
very
problem.
much.
And then we have another piece that we will eventually evolve into where you can incorporate this into your monthly billing as you choose. But that's going to be another piece because that's involving another set of technology and testing. So
And I'll still do the paper checks till you do that. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wondered if you could share the team that decides who gets this money. Like, how do y'all vet the people?
Say that one more time, sir.
Could you share the team that decides who gets the money? Like, how do you vet the people in need?
We have a grants coordinator, and she has parameters that she asks the customer for, their income and other different demographics. And then based on those demographics, you fit in a scale of 150, 100, 200, and we're keeping it no more than 250 right now because we're trying to spread it out as much as possible. But as the program grows and the amount of money grow, we hope to get up to $500 rewards. Thank you so much.
Hi, Mr. Scott. Real quickly, how are you guys going to notify or deliver individuals their contributions for the year? Because these are tax deductible contributions, I'm sure.
Thank you so much for asking. As far as tax, we're not issuing a tax rebate to the customer that's donating. As we are getting this money, we're posting it to the customer's account, so they don't have to wait for a check to come in the mail. We have the money, we're posting it directly to their account. So hopefully once we get everything really rolling, we can have this turned around to the customer less than a week.
Right, and I understand that fully, but I also know that if I choose to make a contribution of $100 or $400, I need a document so that I can use it on my tax return.
At this time, we haven't addressed that. That's a good question.
That's a very good question because
So
that can add up.
I can.
And I don't want you just willy-nilly thinking that you're going to announce these things and that we're just going to absorb them. No, I need a tax document for that contribution.
So this is something we can definitely take back to our legal team and ask them how we can incorporate that. Yes, ma'am.
Well, we have a very accomplished CPA in the audience who is saying that I don't know if everyone heard that, but she's going to repeat it with the microphone.
No, so it's for the entire year. So if you contribute over $200 or under $200, they don't have to send a statement. So, but if it's over 200 and it's to a 501c3, I don't know what the designation is. So it's not even a 501c3. So they're not required unless they set up a foundation or something, but that's getting really technical, y'all. So.
We have such an awesome community. I feel like we can answer every question in this room. There's one more question over here.
It used to be $250, but I guess it's gone up to $500 now. So you can deduct up to $500 on your tax returns without receipts or showing proof of a donation. So that's why these organizations under a certain amount aren't required to provide documentation.
But none of this is tax advice.
Exactly. I am not a tax attorney.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Appreciate it. All right, so I got a text message from Warren Hutmacher about 5 minutes ago saying he was just leaving Winder. So he is not going to be able to make it. But he is head of Sumter Consulting, and he is heading up our city manager search. And so he wanted you to know that at the stage of our city manager search, we are developing the ideal candidate profile at this time and identifying the short and long-term challenges for the next city manager of the city of College Park. The next step will be advertising and recruiting widely in a diverse set of places, and then recording interviews with the group that council has selected as the semifinalists. And then we will have the finalists come in for interviews, and I think this is just, I am one person of the 5-member governing body, but I think it's important that the finalists meet you. And I know that my former colleague, Councilmember Clay, and I, we kind of differ on that, and thank you so much for being here this evening, by the way. Former Councilmember Clay is here, and but I think that with everything going on in our city, I think the folks who, the person who ultimately runs the day-to-day operations of this city should be meeting you, should be talking to you, should be hearing your concerns about how we move this city forward. Ultimately, that is the decision of the council, whether or not that person would have public engagement before they were hired. But I will say it today, I will say it every day going forward. I think if they are going to be in a position to serve you, that there should be an opportunity for you to meet those folks who have made the final cut. So that's where we are on that. And two other things before we just get to the Q&A. Oh, wait, question. Question in the back. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Regarding the city manager search, is anyone else involved in the decision in finalizing who's going to be the city manager as they're vetting their resumes? I think they've all said on the open record that they don't believe another alternative is necessary. So what assurance does the public have in the validity of the search, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is anyone else involved besides the council members themselves?
Well, Mr. Hutmacher was the person who did the search that led us to Stanley Hawthorne. And from what he shared in that email, the process itself will look very similar to what he did last year. And frankly, he was able to sort of weed out, he sort of had different tiers of folks based upon the qualifications that we had laid out, which were important, including extensive city manager experience, and experience with a city of our size, a budget of our size, and the like. So we were able to sort of cut folks off. Here's the top 4, top 5, and as I recall, his recommendations were ones that we generally followed throughout the process and yielded to his expertise. So could it be different this time? Sure. I don't know who's going to apply. I don't know what that candidate pool is going to look like and how that all shakes out. But I can tell you from the perspective of sitting through the process last time, I thought it was a pretty thorough one. And I know that when we got down to the 3 finalists, the department heads had an opportunity to go out to lunch with the finalists. I think some of the members of our police force drove them around the city and answered any questions and maybe kind of gave their observations of how those trips went as well. So there was a lot of interaction on the staff side because they did come in and share their observations interacting with the person that they had the opportunity to engage with as well. But I do think that the community is a very, very important component of it, and I would hope that they would have the opportunity as well. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Oh, you've changed your mind. You agree with me. Okay. All right. All right. So I know that I got a question about it, and I had already asked about an update on the pedestrian bridge. And so Rob McPherson from Prime Engineering told me last week that based on recent discussions with the contractor, we are trying to get dates in late August and early September for the erection and setting of the bridge. If the dates can be worked out with both the GICC and GDOT, they'll erect the bridge in September. However, it will take another 3 to 4 months to finish everything once the bridge is installed. So his estimation is that we're looking at December 2024 or January 2025. However, that is also dependent on weather. And we know that we can't control the weather. Actually, when he sent that email, the remnants of the hurricane were coming through, and he said they couldn't paint the bridge in Houston with high humidity. So there's a lot of things that go into it, but that's the latest on the timeline for the pedestrian bridge. In regard to Bill Evans, late last week, Dr. Adediran signed a purchase and sales agreement for the sale of Bill Evans Field. I have copies of that if you'd like to see it. It is, you're throwing your hands up like, and is it final? I will say that the Business and Industrial Development Authority gave the chairman authorization to sign a purchase and sales agreement. The chair of the Business, Industrial, and Development Authority is Tracy Wyatt. It is not Emmanuel Adediran. So I just got copies of that purchase and sales agreement today, but since it is signed, it is public, and I have copies of it if you would like to see it. Hold on one second, hold on one second. That's all right. That's all right. I have some questions. For those of you who may have seen, I was interviewed by the news about this. I think we need an appraisal. I am concerned about the land being sold for $1.5 million because it is 6.5 acres. And I know that some of you have said that all of College Park is for sale. You know I'm looking at you, right? And I don't think that's the case, but I think that as a group that is supposed to do what's in the best interest of the public, selling land below fair market value, which I think this might be, but I don't know because I am not an appraiser, is problematic. All right, we're going to talk Bill Evans. All right. I was just going to give you an update, and then we could go to Q&A, but let's go on. Let's talk about the ball field.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Does Dr. Aaron have authority to sign on behalf of BIDA?
No.
Why is he signing it?
Good question.
Okay. I mean, isn't Tracy Wyatt the chair of BIDA?
Yes.
So under the okay, yeah. So does this make this contract void? Okay, we'll talk.
I'll show my ignorance. I don't mind. What is the wisdom of selling property for development of multi-use or family use or whatever that backs up to where our boys are playing football and basketball? That's a sports area. That baseball field has been used as a baseball. I'm 75, and that was a baseball field when I was a kid. I don't care. It's got nothing to do with race or gender or anything. It's got to do with sports for our kids. I don't understand how those idiots can just, yes, I said idiots, can just walk right in and take public property. And I'm in economic development. I did this stuff. Go right in and take it away from where we have Morehouse College kids playing baseball, wanting to do that. Having sports. We got the swimming pool. We've got the recreation center. We've got the school opening up. And we want to put money up there so somebody can do whatever. I do not understand it. I don't understand, and I'm not a stupid woman. I just don't understand how they can get away with it. I understand BIDA. My career was in economic development at the state level. This is unforgivable. And I don't care who I offend, okay? I don't.
Well, I'm not here to offend anybody. I'm here to tell you what I thought.
I know
what
you're
think.
not. I understand. And I appreciate that.
So let me be clear about my role in this and what I can do and what I can't do. So when the council approved the quitclaim deed to transfer the 6.5 acres that included Bill Evans and the back half of the football field to the Development Authority, that was a council vote that I did not have a vote in. And I know that some people were concerned about the fact that, wait.
When was that done?
That was done, the approval to have, staff move in that direction happened in February. The actual approval of the transfer, the quitclaim, I think that was in April or May.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. So that decision, I did not, while disagreeing with it, did not think that there was anything legally objectionable about it. So I signed the quitclaim deed. I also serve on the Business and Industrial Development Authority and get a vote there. And so I did not vote in favor of BIDA accepting that quitclaim deed. I did not vote in favor of the sale of Bill Evans Field, because I do believe that that entire block is a real gem for us in the center of our community, and that we should be working to preserve our green spaces, such as Bill Evans Field. I think with the 6 West development coming online, we have a lot of other land that is available in the area and developable. So, which I have a tough time with that word. I feel like I trip over every time.
Complicated for me. I'm aware, that there are members on BIDA.
Yes.
How many members?
7.
And these are citizens of College Park.
Correct.
And then you're on BIDA also, right?
Correct.
And how many council people are on BIDA?
Mayor Pro Tem is on BIDA as well.
Okay. And there's also attorneys, correct? There's attorneys serving on that board too, right? Is that correct?
We have counsel. We
You
have
got counsel.
BIDA has an attorney. Yes.
Okay, so we have all these people. Now, I'm not sure if they're expert or not, but they do have common sense, right? Okay, no, hold on. I'm really
hold on, everybody.
concerned
Hold on,
about this.
hold on.
I'm getting to a point.
So, okay.
Because the people got to see what's going on. First of all, we got citizens on this board. They got common sense, right?
I mean,
they're representing the community, right? They've been appointed to represent. Are they crooks too?
I didn't.
No, hold on.
Wait a minute, Dr. Chisulo. I haven't called anyone a crook.
Well, hold it. I'm trying to add 1 + 1 and show you where you're going with this. And it's hurting us. It's hurting me because, first of all, I know the people who is on by the board. I care about them. I know who's on the planning board. I care about them. All of them played a part in okaying the sale of that property. Is that correct?
The Planning Commission did not.
Is part of planning the future of College Park? Doesn't things have to be approved by the planning committee before it goes into by the board?
The Planning Commission did not have
no say-so at all about the development of College Park. The
Wait a
planning
minute,
the
hold on.
future for
Wait,
College Park.
Wait, hold on. The Planning Commission didn't have a role in the sale of Bill Evans Field.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about planning for the future where all of College Park, as you say, thrives together. The planning committee is planning for the future of College Park. They see something. I'm assuming they're seeing something that we need in the future. Okay, now let me go for it, but I do need that. So now we have, how many people on BIDA voted to sell the property?
5.
Okay, 5. Okay. Now, we got 5 people, 5 community people who have lived in College Park for many, many years. And they know the history, like I know some of the history about that area and the park. I've been here just like she's been here. Okay, but we got 5 representatives who say, hey, we need to sell it. Selling is going to be for the improvement of the community. Okay, planning says they're planning for the future of College Park. So all the people in this community can thrive. Okay, now let me go further. Then the council, how many of the council members who represents the community, all of College Park, how many council members voted to sell the property?
So there were 2 separate votes, as Ms. Blackstone asked. So there was a vote in February, and then there was a vote, I believe, in April or May.
Okay, so they voted twice?
Yes.
Okay, so now this last time when they voted, how many voted to sell?
I believe Councilmember McKenzie was out for the second vote, and Councilmember Arnold was out for the first vote. But everyone who voted in favor.
Okay, so now we got 4 council people who represents us that's been here for years and years, that know about the planning community, know about the on the body, but they've been selected to represent us and to sell property, and they agree. All these people, they got 9, and then here comes one person went, oh, I don't think we should sell. And then you get all these people hyped up, and you don't support the 9 people in the community.
Hold on one second, let him finish.
You're supposed to be the leader. You're not leading the community. You're out here, you got a council, You got a plan. Maybe I'm wrong. You got a council.
No, wait, let him finish. Wait.
You got a.
Let him finish. Let him finish. Let him finish.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. I'm trying to understand this
I'm
because
happy to. Yep.
I thought majority rule, and then the mayor's supposed to jump aboard. Maybe I don't like what they're doing, but the majority sees something that I don't see. But then I get out and I inflame the people, the community, because I got 1 against 9. One person is hollering, hey, something's going on, something's wrong. And you got these people down here all upset, thinking that our council and our BIDA is
Wait,
rotten.
hold on. Okay, Dr. Sula, can I have an opportunity to respond?
Excuse me.
Can I have an
Excuse me.
opportunity?
I'm
Hold on.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Can I have an opportunity to respond? Because I do want to respond to that. No, I want an opportunity to respond. Because, no, I'm good. I'm good. I have worked for the last 4.5 years to do what I believe is in the best interest of this city. I'm not going to stop only because even if I'm the only person who is singing a different tune. This is not about some of the decisions that it is not fun being the only one, but it is necessary. I don't believe that PSA is legal. I don't believe Dr. Adediran had the authority to sign it. Now, whether or not the BIDA board moves in a direction to allow him to do that and to ratify what he's done, that's on the BIDA board. I will not vote to authorize him to do it. I believe he has worked outside of the scope of his authority. And frankly, it's going to be the reason that I'll say it here. I don't think he should be our permanent city manager. If he were here, I would say the same thing. I've told him that. Because, like I said, it's not fun being the lone one out. But at the same time, I do believe in speaking up for what is right. And some of the things that I have seen this year simply are not right. We should not be selling that property without an appraisal. We should not. You recognize I don't believe it is right that the council has passed an ordinance limiting my ability to speak. I don't believe that is about establishing order. I believe it is about ensuring that they can make sure that no one's speaking out. But you didn't elect me to sit there and look pretty. That's not why I'm there. I'm there to work in the best interest of the citizens of College Park. And I will do that to the best of my ability. I will do that like every other man that has sat in that seat before me. And I will continue to advocate for the residents of this community. You may not agree with how I do that. I totally respect that there are differences about how I approach things and how that plays out. I will also say that I think some of the ways in which this has played out has been decidedly misogynistic. And I'm not talking about anything that you've said, Dr. Sulo, but, and I will get to a question that someone sent in, which I don't know if anybody's asking of my colleagues, because I'm going to dovetail in it. The question is rather personal, and you may not wish to answer this one in the forum, but I would love to know the answer to this. Why doesn't College Park's first gentleman have a more active role in community affairs? We don't see him at any College Park function. He's in the back, by the way. And yet part of your platform is to preserve families, but it appears he doesn't support that. You have made herstory, but he has made history as well, and the magnitude of this would scream deliciousness if he were to effectively utilize the power of his platform and position, especially with his skill set as a chef. Let me just say that, yes, part of my platform is to preserve and strengthen families in this community. And he strengthens mine every single day. And he's also an introvert. I'm the extrovert. We got yin, we got yang, we got black, we got white. We work together. And you did not elect Michael Broom to be mayor. You elected Bianca Motley Broom. And frankly, getting into a little bit too much of our business, you know, I gotta be choosy about the places I ask him to go, because he doesn't want to go. He's an introvert. Doesn't want to be everywhere. So I know I get a few a year, and I'm selective with him. And then I let him stay at home because you elected Bianca Motley Broom. You didn't elect Michael Broom. And so I will go through the rest of the questions, but it kind of dovetailed on that one. But you're welcome. He's got the mic.
I have another question about the contract that you
Yes, sir.
spoke about. Is there an execution date on the contract?
I believe it happened last week. I'm not sure. I just got it this afternoon, so I think it happened on Friday.
And has there ever been a contract executed on behalf of BIDA by the city attorney before? I mean, by the city manager before that you
Not
know
to my
about?
knowledge.
So, if this contract is void on its face, then why are we proceeding with the sale?
That's a question that's above my pay grade, sir.
Gotcha.
Dr. Sulo, you wanted to add something else? Hold on, microphones.
First of all, I want to let you know I admire you so much. I'm very proud of you. I'm concerned. Of course, you know I am. I'm trying to understand. We have a great future here in College Park. I see a
Absolutely.
great future, great opportunity. And I see the huge possibility that you have in bringing all of us together and moving forward. I understand the pain and hurt that's been caused. Some of it, I understand the pain and cause that the change has happened. But continuing to go down the road, the many people who have lost their jobs, the people who are selling their houses, people who are so uncomfortable, is it worth all that to keep going down this route? Can we, just like what's going on now, with the presidential race, this unity, it just elevating.
I think a healthy democracy has discourse, and that discourse does not always. I mean, we're not always going to agree. I think the challenge that we have. I mean, you talk about the number of folks that are gone. Last week, our finance director submitted her resignation, and she was supposed to stay until the end of the month, but I understand Dr. Adediran dismissed her on Friday, and so she's gone. We also lost our chief building official, and I think the running list that Councilmember Clay has is up to 16 since January 1st, I believe. I'm deeply concerned about that. Deeply, deeply concerned about that. But I wouldn't be honest if I said that we were in a space right now where everything is great. I'm not going to stand up here and lie to you. Like, I can't even tell you, honestly. I mean, tonight's meeting got canceled. I found out about it when Queenie issued the notice. I wasn't even on the emails. So we've got a lot of breakdowns. We do. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. I don't relish just being contrary to be contrary. When good things are happening, I want you to know about them. I want you to know about the Let's Power Up Our Neighbors program. Councilmember Karn was the one who championed that, and I think it's a really good thing. He also did the Healthy Looks Good on You campaign that we've all kind of taken and adapted to what we want to see. I did a walk with the mayor, and other folks have done other different things. But I wouldn't be telling you the truth if I said we didn't have issues. And it's not worth lying over. None of this is worth lying over. Yeah, we sure have.
One of the things that we need to do, that you'll do, is you'll go back and forth between questions that were submitted and being submitted, and then those questions on the floor. And of course, continue to be respectful to your neighbors, and as you can see, she'll stop and answer any questions. So do know that she'll be going back and forth. So if you have a question from the floor and she takes one from the queue, you're not being pushed aside. So we have some of that.
And to that end, let me take one that was submitted earlier. One, why aren't tree limbs being cut away from utility wires? Sometimes we don't know about it, but Mr. Richardson is in the back, and anytime that, Mr. Richardson, you want to wave your hand up there? That's Hugh Richardson. He's the director of our power department. He and his team do an amazing job to make sure that we all have electricity each and every day, and worked very hard last year to get us a real-time update online. And then there's Glenn Spivey too. Hi, Glenn. So anytime you see that tree limbs are on power lines, let us know. That is something that you can do in the new iNotify app. If you don't have it, you can go ahead and download it. It's much more interactive, and you can see that when your issue is getting handled. So, but this person had 4 questions, so let me get to them all. And this is a number that I don't know off the top of my head. How many full-time policemen are there in the city of College Park? Why are they so infrequently seen in Ward 4? Sergeant Paniagua is walking toward me. So I'm gonna give you the microphone and talk a little bit about patrols and how that works. And notice I said sergeant because he got promoted.
Good evening, everyone. As far as police, police don't divide the zones in wards. We are divided by zones. So zone 4 might fall under Ward 2, Ward 4, and Ward 3, for example. So, for example, and I know I got Major Denard coming, talk about the numbers of police officers. For example, Zone 4 for us is like Camp Creek, all the way to Roosevelt Highway, all the way to Herschel Road, and almost to Washington Road. You know, so we don't go by ward. So when they ask why we don't cover Ward 4, we cover all the wards because we cover all the zones. As far as officers, Major Norton, they want to know how staff was.
Yes, how are you doing today? That's Mike. Y'all can hear me. Listen. The question came up about how are we looking right now with our numbers for officers.
Yes.
We've actually, I think we've probably got about maybe 16 more slots to fill, which is actually putting us at. Got about 16 more slots to fill, if I'm not mistaken. So we're still working on that. We're still hiring. Keep in mind, right now we're trying to make a push to get as many officers as we can get in before the next academy, which starts, I think, in August or something like that. Because next year, the whole academy changes. Next year, for the state of Georgia, training will be 6 months. So that's going to be a big change as far as getting those officers to and actually get them on the street. I think APD does it now with 6 months. You get a total officer from that program, but at the same time, we have to compensate officers being on the street. But as far as our hiring and our staffing, we're actually looking pretty good right now. Of course, every place has its staffing issues, but we are still hiring, and we still got good people coming to be officers at the City of College Park. And we actually have a couple officers in training right now that should be out real soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, the next question of that 4 is, when will the street division repave the street on York Road that has a large bump and uneven asphalt due to previous sewer or street repairs? Hi, Mr. Cotton. That's a specific question, and I'll make sure that we get a specific answer to that one. I want to make sure that I read everyone's questions, but that specific question I'll get more details on and respond afterward. And 4, is there a way to get some brush cleanup in the creek that runs on the side of my home? Probably one of those where we would probably need to come and take a look at it, because I can't answer that generally because of property lines and all that good stuff. But we will reach out to you with responses on those particular 2. All right, so let's go to
I think that's me. Here. Oh, okay. So I actually don't have a question. I did have 2 comments on what was stated before. One is related to BIDA. So, Dr. C, I respect you and we have a good relationship, but I must say that I disagree with the premise of some of what you said, specifically as it relates to BIDA. Individuals on BIDA are appointed by the council member of their ward. Just because, longevity doesn't create competency. Longevity doesn't create the understanding of commercial real estate. Longevity doesn't translate your experience as a residential real estate agent, meaning you sell individual houses, to understanding commercial real estate. One glaring example is not having an appraisal before you enter into a contract. There are a number of reasons why an individual may have been appointed to BIDA, but let's say they all had competency in commercial real estate. It doesn't change the fact that the citizens of this community have a voice. And just because we vote someone into office doesn't mean that we abdicate our intelligence, our own competency, or our interest in the community. These individuals are public servants, and unfortunately, what has appeared to occur in the last 6 months or so is the lack of transparency. Meetings being held in executive session, votes on council that are pretty critical that don't get any discussion, but yet get a unanimous vote. Those things create an environment of mistrust, which brings me back to my second point about the mayor. Serving beautifully, we greatly appreciate you, particularly the circumstances that you've had to deal with. Our mayor was put into office by over 1,100 votes. The other two offices that were on the ballot combined didn't get anywhere near that. All of the council members would dream for 1,100 votes. To assume that the words that the mayor says is creating the divisive nature, I would say that the first place to start is with our council members. We haven't had this sort of environment since I've lived in College Park since 2017. I would just say that one of the problems is the lack of hearing the residents of the community. I'll hear a lot of people within the community say, oh, well, they wouldn't accept this in Alpharetta, or they wouldn't accept this in Buckhead. The reason they wouldn't accept it is for the very reason that we have going on right now, and it's called involved citizens. And I'm proud of the way our citizens have taken up and taken a voice, and in some respects have made a change. So I would just say, to think that the mayor's words is creating the divisiveness is probably not the first place to start.
I think it's me. I think it's me. It might be me echoing. I have two questions. The first is related to Bill Evans, and then the second, I think, might be regarding communications. So the first is, I know there was a proposal or talk of a proposal from Morehouse for $2 million. And I am not on VITA. I do not do this for a living, but it seems to me that $1.5 million versus $2 million seems pretty straightforward. I also know that there was, at the last council meeting, a council member of our council told Althea Morris that she knew nothing about Morehouse, and there appears to be evidence, meeting minutes and email evidence to prove that that's actually a lie. But my question is, what goes into making a decision to say, make a sale of Bill Evans for $1.5 million as opposed to taking a higher offer? Because as a lay person, it seems to me that we would want to take more money, especially to keep a ball field. So if you might be able to shed some light onto all the factors that one might take into consideration when they're making a sale like this. I know you voted against that, but I would love to understand what that process is like. Should I ask my second question or let you answer that?
That was a long first question.
Okay, yeah, so I'll...
Hold on to the second
pause.
question,
Yes.
and let me see if I can sort of generally answer the first question. I think it's always prudent for us to have all of the information as we are making decisions in the best interests of this community. So in this particular situation, I think the folks from Morehouse spoke at one of our council meetings, I believe that was in February, and outlined some of the things that they wanted to do. And I think it's important to just weigh everything so we can figure out how we move in the best interests of our city, generally speaking.
My second question, are there social media policies for both city employees and or elected officials? It appears that and maybe not just social media, maybe just speaking publicly on behalf of the city, comments made to the press, blocking people on social media, conspiracy theories, all of the kind of things that might cause people upset in our community. What are those policies outlined by the city to ensure that any communications on behalf of the city of College Park come from the city of College Park?
Okay, so that question had a lot of different areas as well. If there's communication coming from the city of College Park on behalf of the city of College Park, then yes, that does have regulation. And I didn't see who had the question. Can you raise your hand? Oh, there you are. Okay. Now, can you repeat the middle of your question when you were talking about someone else doing something on social media?
There was a council member making comments on behalf of the city about the documents found in the dumpster, also in the press, and the same council member who has blocked multiple constituents on social media. So I'm curious what the city can do to mitigate that, and if there are policies in place for elected officials and how they speak and interact with constituents and with the media.
Okay, great question. So on both sides, one, they would love for me to block comments and things that are happening that come from you guys. And I always tell them, I cannot go and block what it is that you're doing. If you're in an outside group, you have all the rights in the world to say what you are going to say, right? As far as a council person blocking people on social media, again, that's up to that person. Do I think it's a best practice? I don't think it's a best practice, but if they decide to do that, it's up to them, just like it's up to any of us to block who we don't want to have on our social media. The city does not have a policy where we block people on social media. I am the communications director, and there's a person on my staff that runs the social media, and there has been no directive from me to block anybody. As for statements made by public officials on our social media, first, on their own social media, that includes the mayor here, and she is called to consult me. Cameron, hey, I'm about to put this statement out. I have to say, do what you got to do. You got elected. Okay, now I can consult with her. I can consult with any of the council people. I can help them manage their image, but I cannot stop them from saying what they want to say on that platform that they ran on. I tell them each and every time, if you make a statement on your social media or publicly or somewhere, then you have to stand on that as an elected official. That's your platform, just as much as we see the president running and anyone else. If you say it, stand on it. Don't say it and then run away from it. So you have the right to say what you're going to say, but you're accountable for saying that. Now, as for anyone in College Park making a statement on behalf of the city, all employees, all department heads are advised that they are not to make statements on behalf of the city. That includes people we provide media training to who are out in the field. They might be cleaning up on the side of the road and someone asks them a question. Hey, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about this place? And they are advised to send that question back to me. Because they can't make that statement, and I've told them, and I say this in orientation. We just had an orientation last week. If you make a statement, even if it's just conversation, well, what do you think? Even if it's that, it becomes the official statement for the city. And I asked them in orientation, do you want to be on record as having the official statement for the city? You just got this job. Is that what you want to get fired for on day 2? So they are not to make statements. Now back to the public officials. There shouldn't be a public official making a statement on behalf of the city as the city of College Park, unless it is the city attorney, the city manager, and they make those statements, and those statements might come through me. If I am making a statement on behalf of the city of College Park, then it has to be vetted through those processes. I have to send it to the city manager, I have to send it to the city attorney, and then it would become a public statement.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. My question is two parts, actually. Going back to the field that you're talking about discussing, the way I'm filtering this is that it makes me question who has a vested interest in the sale of that field. For example, let's say it's one of the members of council who may have a financial interest in the firm that's purchasing the field, which would bring profit to them. Can that be investigated? And if that is the case, then isn't there something, it seems to me that there would be a conflict of interest there, which would void that out completely. You follow what I'm saying?
I follow what you're saying, and I want to be 110% clear that I have absolutely no evidence to support that anyone is working like illegally. Okay? I just want to be totally clear about that. I've been clear about how I feel about it, how I think that we need to preserve our green spaces, especially in the center of the city, and I believe that this sale is one where we need to appraise the land. And so I want to be totally clear about that. Okay?
Just because of the fact that if the city is selling a property that it owns, there should be an appraisal before that even is discussed. If they want to look at the possibility of selling it, there seems to me should be some public input into that as to whether or not the people, the public, the citizens wish to divest themselves of that property. And if we as a community wish to divest ourselves of that property, we should get top dollar for it. And it should not be sold for pittance, if you will. Just so a developer can come in and make millions off of it. I don't know what they may be planning to do with it, but it sounds to me like it might be for real estate development, and they could make a fortune, and the city would be left holding the bag. That's just what they, losing out on that. So that's my opinion on that and the way I see it. So if possible, get some clarification on that. Because if there is someone in the city who does have a vested financial interest in that, they should recuse themselves from having anything to do with what's going on with that property.
I would agree with you if someone has a vested financial interest that they should recuse themselves. But I don't have any knowledge that anyone is in that position. I want to make sure that we are getting the folks who submitted questions prior to this meeting. So now that we have the threat of the Fulton County Housing Authority possibly disbanding, what are we going to do with the College Park Housing Authority and stabilizing and upgrading the deplorable conditions of the dwellings within it? What happened to the RAD program that was supposed to have been the magical solution for the Housing Authority last year during the campaign season and seemed to have ghosted the community? All right, so as mayor, I am the person who appoints the members of the Housing Authority Board. We've got the chairman here tonight. And so the RAD program was something that the board explored at my request last year. But what we discovered in trying to get the Housing Authority ready for it was that the idea was that we would have an ability to move people on site so they wouldn't have to move temporarily while facilities were upgraded, that they could just move within the footprint of the Housing Authority. However, that led to us being out of compliance with HUD. So we need to get those occupancy numbers up so we can be in a position to explore some of those possibilities. And so if the RAD program itself, pause while we're waiting to get people into the empty units that were there. So answering that question. All right, next question from the audience. Oh, that's right, Ms. Holland, you were following up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Preston. So today's release from the City of College Park government regarding Dumpster Gate suggested that this was a conspiracy. Who provided this release?
That release was issued by the city manager and was released by my office.
Wait, hold on. We've got the one of our ground rules. Make sure that everybody's got the mic. So.
Where's the other mic?
Her question was, there was a press release that was issued today, and the press releases do come out of my office, and it was issued speaking about what she had a cute name for, but it was regarding the mishandling of documents that were found in a dumpster. And she asked who issued that release, whose voice was that for the city, and it was the statement that was given by the city manager as the official statement for those events.
All right. Yep, I do, but I also have questions that I want to get to on. So let me alternate. All right. So the next submitted question, please include updates on the lithium battery and the sale of Bill Evans baseball field. We've been talking about Bill Evans, including what will become of the baseball field property. Please inquire within the Public Safety Office on the prevention of illegal drugs, smoking marijuana among young people on the side of the swimming pool. Is there a status on the reduced funding offered families using the recreational center? And how do you obtain a passcode to enter the bathroom at Barrett Park? The status of the rock wall at Tracy Wyatt Center. Please elaborate about the friction between Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor and Council in public meetings. Further explanation of concern. Will the public see a favorable working environment when Council meets where there is no longer insinuating response implying the Mayor does not deserve clarification or respect? Thank you for the opportunity to inquire. Okay. All right. Yeah, all right, that's a lot of questions. All right. So in regard to the battery energy storage facility that is in our city, directly impacting some folks in the city of South Fulton, I think I've been clear about my thoughts about this one as well, and my opinion in regard to how this process took place. I do not believe that we have complied with the zoning procedures law of the state of Georgia in regard to this particular issue. There was a resolution, actually I think it was an ordinance that came up for signature that was not part of the packet because there was no supporting documentation. And so I refused to sign that because it had never been before the council, and while our city attorney said that it was the same ordinance that had been in the packet in August, we also had 2 different council members at that time. So in regard to that, I think there are some folks in the community who have expressed some concerns. On the city side, I mean, I don't think at this point it's not, there's not active construction going on the site, but the Mayor Pro Tem did sign that ordinance and did so, I believe, in May. Let's see. We talked about Bill Evans Field. I don't know anything about folks and dealing with smoking marijuana by the pool. Do you know anything about that, Sergeant Paniagua? I'm putting you on the spot.
At the pool?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a date?
Nope, I sure don't have a date. But I think there's probably some concern about it. I don't know if you've heard anything, or have there been any reports of any kind of issues at the pool?
No.
What I'll do is we'll get with all the officers that work at the pools. On tomorrow, we'll follow up and we'll investigate further.
All right. Thank you, Major Denard. All right. So is there a status on the reduced funding offered families for the rec center? We're getting all the questions answered tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Michelle Johnson, Director of Recreation and Cultural Arts. We are currently taking applications, so if there's somebody that is making 50,000 less, that they live in the city limits, have to show proof of that, and they will have to have the tax information to support that we have funding to help any child that is in the city of College Park. And that's all done through it's on our website, the information. So if there's any questions, I'm happy. Give me a call at any time, and I can help anybody walk through that process. I would have to defer to Mike Hicks on that because I'm not in charge with those. Mike Hicks for the passcodes for Barrett Park.
Yeah, passcode at Barrett Park is on the website. And Cameron said you can also ask to just get in when you go over there because you can push the button. Yeah. We'll provide that information if you. Yep. All right. So, next question from the audience. Let's make sure. Wow, there's so many people who have questions. Wait, but you've already asked a question, so we want to make sure that let's pass it around and spread the love. Okay. All right, she's got the mic. Go ahead.
Yes, I have the mic. I had a question about the townhomes that are being built off English Lane, and the exit is spilling out onto Lyle. I know folks have asked the Ward 1 councilperson, Ms. McKenzie, about this, and I believe her response was it's East Point, and we don't have any more information. But it seems that if there are already arrangements for this development to exit onto Lyle Avenue, there have been conversations with East Point about these townhomes.
There is a planning and zoning meeting in East Point later on this week. I will be in attendance for that. It's virtual, so I'll be dialing in with everybody else. I also spoke to Mayor Holiday Ingram about it and some of the concerns that have been expressed in the community about it. So I think Councilmember McKenzie has been in contact with Councilmember Shropshire about it as well. So I am fully aware of the concerns about this East Point townhome development exiting and entering in College Park. And I will champion those concerns and voice them accordingly. Do what I can on my end.
I wanted to address Doc, and I respect you a lot, and I want to help you. My name is DC, for those that don't know me. I own a business here in College Park, and I happen to sit on a development authority for my county. BIDA is your development authority for the city of College Park. They have their own charter, their entity unto themselves. They're the only body in your city that can do business for the city and make a profit for the city. Let me educate you on some things. They are appointed. And in most situations, like a BIDA, what city elected officials do is appoint somebody that, if they're not a progressive city, they want to appoint somebody that works in their best interest. And I think that's what people are concerned about here in College Park. The second part of that is the reason why these people are upset about the field, the ball field. Got to help you understand something. We know, because we sit on the development authority, we just bought some land in a city in the county that I live, 6 acres for almost $6 million in a downtown city. The number one downtown city in the state of Georgia is College Park. The most expensive land near the airport in Georgia is College Park. So if it costs almost $6 million in my county for 6 acres, imagine what it's got to cost in College Park that's downtown. Do you follow what I'm saying? It's the only place in Georgia that has a world Congress Center or a convention center and just as many hotels as anywhere else. There's no other city outside of Atlanta in this area that has as many hotels as College Park. It's the only place in Metro Atlanta that's near the airport that has a convention center, a golf course in its downtown. No land other than Hateville even come close in its downtown district than College Park. So when somebody sells a piece of land, somebody offer you $2 million and you sell it for 1.5, everybody in here should be raising sand. Why? Because you sit on the most expensive land in and near the airport. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so you have a right to question them. Their job is to get the very best deal that they can for the taxpayers, not the person that appointed them, the taxpayers who pay the bills. Do you follow what I'm saying? That's their job. So if you say we don't want this deal, you don't have to have this deal. Did they open it up for public comment to see if what you wanted? They didn't do that. And so that's where the conflict come in. Here's the other part. There's no other mayor, and all the politicians have to come through my radio station. There's no other mayor in Metro Atlanta that has been silenced by that council. That just doesn't happen. It's a respect thing. Do you follow what I'm saying? You can take Roger Gay, Joe Corn, and Jamel McKenzie, put all of their votes together, and she still outvoted them. The people elected her to be the voice and the face of College Park. The people should be outraged that they said their will should be done and not your will be done. Do you follow what I'm saying? Right, and so it's the voice of the people. And when it comes to doing the business, they have to do the business of the people. And this deal with this field, now they can sell the field because they got the right processes in place, but they didn't get a good deal for the citizens. And so I think the citizens should have a right to be concerned about that. Thank you.
Let me make sure that I'm keeping up with the previously submitted questions. All right, this one was about the bridge across Camp Creek. How much did it cost taxpayers, and where can we find the current plans for 6 West? The breakdown of what we got in federal funding versus what came from the city, I will personally respond to that later. I don't have the exact breakdown, and I would not want to quote incorrect information. And so the current plans for 6 West, as some of you may know, we experienced some road bumps with 6 West in regard to the residential development. BIDA approved PMG to do the residential component, and then about a month ago, the body decided to reverse that and go with a group called NYSA. At our last meeting last week, BIDA reversed itself on that after we had gotten sued by PMG for breach of contract. And so now I think we're hammering out the details and moving forward with PMG on the residential component, but there was also a motion to approve NYSA and sell the remainder of 6 West to NYSA. I did not vote in favor of that for a number of reasons. You can see all of that. It is available because of Mr. James Hammond and his amazing team at Icon Filmworks. He's in the back. Thank you, Mr. Hammond. I appreciate all that you do for our city and making sure that our meetings are available anytime you want to see them, but you can go to our website or to our YouTube channel and see what happened at that BIDA meeting in regard to that, because there were some concerns that I had about the agreement and also concerns that the chairman had, but that did move forward as, I think it was a 4-3 vote. So, all right. Hold on. If you're asking if I can expand on it, I can expand on it, but you have more to say, so let's get you a microphone. Correct. BIDA reversed the kick out of PMG, yes. So, no, PMG, the question is that the contract with PMG was just for the residential component of 6 West. The entirety of 6 West is around 300 acres. And so the amount that's actually available to be developed for residential use is about 55 acres. So PMG is going to develop that 55 acres. And I think we're in a space where we're working that out and hammering it out. And I'm optimistic about that. And then another group called NYSA is the one that BIDA voted to sell the remainder of 6 West to. I'm not sure I understand your question, and I know that everybody couldn't hear your question. So let me. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. Okay. All right. Because I know there's yes. All right.
DC answered part of what I was going to say, so I just have a two-part question. Bill Evans Field and all of the Conley Recreation Center is part of the green space in the city's master plan. Is that correct? Currently, or that area was
yes.
as dedicated green space in 2019? Was that
2019 or 2020?
Okay. So if that land can just be taken out of the master plan and sold for whatever else, whether it's commercial development, residential development, what then stops that from happening for the next special interest group that comes in and wants to buy similar property in downtown?
All of you.
Hasn't worked so well so far.
I've heard you. We've heard you. We've heard you.
I mean, that's just my question. It's very
concerning.
concerning.
And I think I agree. I agree it is concerning because I think that our comprehensive plan did not contemplate use of that area in any way other than green space. We certainly discussed development of the downtown core, bringing density to the downtown core with the building of a development that would sort of be residential on top, commercial on bottom. In other areas, we've talked a lot about that because I think it's really important if we're going to move forward and gain population that we do add density in certain areas. And with the proximity to the MARTA station, it makes a lot of sense for us to densify that downtown core. But it's also really important for if we're going to bring more people here that they have opportunities to have recreational outlets. And we can achieve both. I think that we don't have to be in a space where we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. And even the proposed, from what I've heard from the Mayor Pro Tem is that his estimates of building a new field near Phillips Park is $1.7 million. And so 1.7 minus 1.5 still means that we're coming out to build something. And I really, I've said this before, you've probably heard it, but we have got to think bigger about this pie. This is not a pie that's that big and everybody just gets one little slice and somebody else has to lose in order for, I'm sorry, James, we're holding a little bit higher up, okay. Where someone has to lose in order for someone to get something. I really do believe if we are focused on finding all the assets that we can, forming relationships outside of our community to bring assets to the community, that we don't have to think of this as a zero-sum game. And that's sort of been some of the mindset that I've heard. And it troubles me because we have limitless opportunity, but we've just got to be focused on ensuring that we can make the pie as big as we want it to. There are so many opportunities out there. There really, really are. But I mean, I'll be frank with you. At this point, one of the great things about being involved with the Georgia Municipal Association, National League of Cities, is learning about all these amazing things that are going on in communities across our country. And the opportunities to bring in assets to make those things happen, bring in resources. We're down a lot of folks. People will tell you when I go to conferences, like you will get emails from me like, do you know about this program? Do you know about that? How can we make this happen? At this point, some of those opportunities are ones where I'm like, I don't know who I would email this to right now. And that's not where I want us to be. And I'm hopeful that Warren can help us find some key department heads, help us find a permanent city manager, because I think that's a really important step. That city manager in a permanent position is going to dictate the tone for the rest of the community. So to me, that's a vital step in the right direction. It is cold up here, guys. It's really cold in this room. My fingers are getting cold.
I'm next.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So DC answered most of my questions that I had to Chisulo before. So that's pretty much, we just don't know about these things until they've already happened, and that's why everybody's so outraged. So, but one of the questions that came up since I raised my hand earlier was, why on earth would we let the person whose documents were found in the dumpster make a public statement for the city? Why would his name be at the bottom of that? That's the one question. I'll ask a couple more, and then that makes no sense to me. Also, this is one of my biggest concerns from the council during the council meetings, and the council allows it, is there's one particular person that gets up just about every single council meeting and just spews hatred and racism, and it just pains me to hear that. And he needs to be escorted out. We need to stop that, because, I'm just going to call it like it is. If I were to get up there and if I were to say things like that, I would probably be escorted out, because it's not right, it's not fair, and I take it very personally, and I don't know why it is allowed to continue every single meeting for almost 30 minutes the last meeting. I'm tired of hearing it, and I feel like something needs to be done. I feel like the police need to step in and take him out. It's not right. We shouldn't have to hear it. And I'm not going to say his name. He'll probably watch it and end up coming in here and trying to take over the meeting. And then you're
talking about escorting someone out, right?
Yes, escorting
because I want to be clear about what you're
escorting someone out. So, and then the last thing is, because of the disrespect that everybody shows you on the council, what do you need from us to support you? Because you tell us what you need, and we're here for you, because we're tired of it. We're tired of seeing it. We're tired of them, of course, obviously silencing you. But we want to know what you need from us, because we're here for you.
Oh, thank you. What was the first question?
Why would you let
that's a
Adadarian make the statement for the city when he's the one whose documents were found in the dumpster? Per the news, his name was all over the front.
I'm going to say two things on that. One, the fact that when you use the word, why did we let him? One, he's my boss, so I can't not let him do something or let him do something. I can't approve it. I don't approve the statement. Dr. Adediran's the city manager. It comes out of my office as public relations office. No, I did not. I do not approve that. I have to send things that I write. If I wrote a statement on behalf of the city, or if we're having a program, I might have to send it up to the city attorney or the city manager, but I don't approve his statements. If he says, as the city manager, that this is our statement, then because of his title and because of him being my boss and because of him being the city manager, that's what goes. So I don't think anybody let him make that statement, and because there are no formal charges or of any type against him, there was no reason for him to not make a statement on behalf of the city, being the city manager.
Okay, and question number 2, I apologize. About public comment. I think this is, it's a fine line. It's a very fine line. And I think you heard me a couple of meetings ago asking the city attorney about it. He gave some instruction in that regard, and so we are following that guidance. And I know that this is something that Cameron has been asking about and working on and questioning to make sure that we all have a full understanding of where that line is and that folks don't cross it. And so I understand your own opinions about it, and I totally understand where you're coming from. There's also an opportunity for people to exercise their First Amendment rights. So I understand that if I get it, but you don't have a microphone either. You're just, people can't hear you. And lastly, what can you do to support me? I will say that earlier this year, this felt very, very isolating because there were some things that I saw that I didn't necessarily think were going in the right direction. And then March 18th happened. And March 18th, the council considered the battery energy storage facility. And all of a sudden, people said, what the heck? What's going on? And I have said this before, I think the level of engagement that we have right now is like here. I don't think that's necessarily healthy long term. It was kind of here, and maybe about here is healthy for a community to be engaged, because I want you to have trust in us. I think we're in a space right now where there's not a lot of mutual trust, and that's unfortunate, and I think that's not healthy. And so that's why there's this elevated level of engagement, because I think there's heightened scrutiny over what's going on. Some of that warranted, some of it not. But you guys are doing a lot of work. You're doing a lot of work. And it is, and I think that we're at a moment in time where we will look back and think, this is when we got really, really good as a community. Because for those of you who have just started getting engaged in 2024, you've met new neighbors, haven't you? You've met people you didn't know. You've figured out what your civic responsibility really is, and you've also figured out that local government matters a heck of a lot. Because no matter what happens in November on the national level, things can change in local government in the blink of an eye. And it's up to all of us. Democracy is not just getting to the ballot booth and checking a box. It is an active engagement that is required of all of us, not just elected officials. And I have been so encouraged and proud of this community for speaking up, for asking questions. We are responsible to you. You may not agree with everything that we do, but you have the right, just as DC said, to ask the questions. And you have the right to expect us to answer them. And so I'm encouraged. I know that sounds a little strange, but I'm encouraged about where we are because I know that we are going to be a stronger community in the long run. So.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
I just have a couple of questions that I need answered. I live in the 6 West development area where I've lived for over 54 years. And I've heard several things that the city was gonna do there, but thus far nothing has been done. And all the property that's around me, I had to do the upkeep myself because the city doesn't cut it or it would just grow out of proportion. And my main thing is, what development do the city really has for the 6 West area over there?
So the first thing I think you're going to see is the residential development, which is in and around the Brady Center. Okay. That's going to be the first thing to really start moving. And I think that that's appropriate because once we get more rooftops, then we'll be able to demand the services, right? We'll have more people, so we'll be able to say, all right, so we need XYZ store, this, that, and the other. It's hard for us to make a pitch to people sometimes that we need certain businesses here, if we're talking like larger businesses, right? Like we have a thriving entrepreneurial community. Like we are home to thousands and thousands of businesses. But if we're looking for some of those bigger businesses, there are certain metrics that they look for. And we don't always hit those numbers because they might say, well, how many people do you have in a 1 mile radius, a 3 mile radius, a 5 mile radius? What is that area median income? So in a 1 mile radius of us is the airport. Nobody lives there. And we've also got, the Delta parking lot, which means we have thousands of employees coming back and forth every day, but that doesn't factor into why someone necessarily from a traditional perspective would want to build retail. So the first thing I think that we really need to do from an approach of the entire development is getting that residential in place. So long story short, I know where you live, you're going to have neighbors close by. That's the first thing you're probably going to see.
Do you think it'd be possible to get some of that land taken care of, cut down, where I don't have to do it no more for the next 15 years that I've done so long?
Yes, I think that is possible. I think that is absolutely possible, and we should be doing that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
One last question.
Yes.
That land there, the investors that's coming in, is it corporations or individual people who have purchased that land over there that's around me?
It's not individuals.
It's not individuals?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean that are actually developing 6 West. It's larger corporate types.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
My question has been answered.
All right, let me go to. I can't forget the folks that sent stuff in. I know this was an issue in the last week. Please address the use of the city emergency text system and its proper use, specifically using the system to deliver city council event information. Cameron Preston? And I want to appreciate everybody for hanging in there, because I told you I was going to stay as long as you had questions, and we're going to hang out.
This is an easy one for me because I might actually have to call on those who actually manage that system. That is, while it is a communication for the city, that did not come out of my office. That was not something that was sent by our office. We do understand the complaints that are coming back in. I've given the advice and am working with people on how you can use those types of systems to have people opt in for a message if we were to use it for something else. I know it's been used in the past, and this time the decision was made for it to be used for that, and that wasn't through me. I can't really answer it any more fully than that.
And I was wondering, Chief Elmore, you're back there, and this might be one of the last times that we get to thank Chief Elmore for his service to the city of College Park. He's retiring next month, and so Chief, thank you for everything, and you know that your retirement gift from me will be peanut butter, because I know your daughter's taken
I love it.
from your cabinet.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. As Ms. Cameron stated, I was directed to send the message out as we've done it in the past. And for various events, National Night Out, our fire safety expo that we give every year. But this time, like I said, I was directed to send it out. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right. Thanks, Chief. All right. And that's actually a Chief question. There was a question about how to opt out. Chief, is there a way to opt out of event bulletins versus emergency bulletins?
Yes, there is. If I'm not mistaken, we don't have many people to opt out, but I know there is a way you could do it. And if you could call my office, I'll be happy to direct you to it. Yeah, and I'll give you my card. Yes.
All right.
I just wanted to make a few comments because they're positive, I think. I'm a retired banker. I don't really have a whole lot to say about that other than you know good and well most of us would want to get the most money for property being sold. I will say about in banking, what I liked about is we had a lot of things done under dual control. We could come up with another name for it and other rules that we went by to protect not only the place of business, the employee, and whomever has accounts there. I don't know why people can do whatever it's green space. I'm surprised it was sold anyway. But I wanted to make a nice comment about Morehouse students. I had a job at one time in my life for almost 8 years running blood drives for recruiting donors for our hospitals for blood. And during that time, I was assigned to Morehouse College. I have never met more polite young men than I've ever met in my life. College Park needs that team to come to College Park for examples for other kids to see. The other thing is, I mentioned it to a girlfriend of mine about how polite and wonderful they were and ambitious to do well. And about a month or two later, she was in a store shopping, and this guy sounded just like who I described. She said, "By the way, where do you go to school?" He said, "Morehouse."
Thank you. Appreciate it. I think there was another. Yep.
Is it on? First question I have, I've been here since 2006 in College Park, but I lived in an adjoining city since 1985 on the south side. I'm not from Atlanta, Metro Atlanta. And I want to just say to Ms. Johnson, one of the things that brought me as a family and 5 kids to College Park from the adjoining city was Parks and Recreation. I watched the fact that College Park put a lot of money into their parks, and I appreciated that because I wanted to be outside with my kids. So my question is, my son and I used to go sit over at Bill Evans and watch the college students play baseball. Do those colleges pay College Park, City of College Park, money for playing on the baseball field?
You got me, James. So we have agreements with Marquise Grissom, MGBA, along with Morehouse's, his brother. They practiced there through the years. It's actually been with Clark Atlanta that we have the agreement with. But on those agreements, they are usage agreements. So for Clark Atlanta, we currently had an agreement for them. So you were watching Clark Atlanta, not Morehouse.
Yeah, but I'm just saying over the years, I don't know, I just saw different college teams with different buses, and I just wondered if they paid the City of College Park money to use that field.
Correct. We had a usage agreement.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And I thought I heard you say, Mayor, that there might be a proposal to build another field at Phillips for 1.7, but if we sold the land for 1.5, aren't we $2 million in the hold?
200,000.
200,000, okay. All right. And I guess then my comment and concern is, I think Councilman Clay said maybe 16 staff down. And I remember a story of the other city I lived in where somebody had gotten hired and they were watching the TV council meeting on TV, cable TV, and then they told the city the next day that they rescinded they didn't want the job anymore because they saw the council meeting and they decided not to take the job. My concern is, with what's happening at these meetings, can we attract people to come to work for City of College Park? I'm going to stay optimistic. I'm going to always see it, the glass is half full, but that is a concern I do have. Having lived through this before, and I took my kids to council meetings, and my daughter saw the council meeting, and she was like 9 or 10, and she said, I've never seen people so unprofessional, and she was shocked. And this was in the adjoining city, but it's unfortunate that we've come to this in College Park. But again, I stay optimistic, and I appreciate you holding this town hall meeting. I appreciate all the staff being here and all the law enforcement as well, so thank you.
Absolutely, and you and I both share optimism. Like, it's the reason I get up every day. Try to keep on moving forward and make this community better. I share your concerns, but I do think that we'll get through it. We will. We don't have a choice. We'll get through it. All right, let me make sure that I'm keeping up with the printed questions. Are there motions passed by the council that require changes to the city charter? Do some of those changes require legislative approval? If yes, are the legislative approvals pending, and can the city/council implement the changes pending legislative approval? There are several, but the ones that stand out to me are changes to the authorities of the city manager and mayor. So any change to the form of the government has to be approved by our state legislature. Our state legislature stays in session for 40 days a year. They have adjourned and they will reconvene in January. So there are no legislative approvals pending for the folks under the Gold Dome at this time. So I think I've answered that question. All right. Yes, sir. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm gonna say that your household has asked at least 2 questions, so I'm gonna let her.
Good afternoon, everyone, and Mayor Broom. I came because I saw your town hall meeting, and I just assumed that the council was going to be here, but I just wanted to go on record. I'm coming for Old National. Mm-hmm. And I've sent several emails to your office and council, so I will be back to the council meetings. But my concern is who the leadership for the Old National Corridor, because there's 5 streets in College Park that are on Old National. Mm-hmm. And I want to know who is in charge of that area in College Park. Because my thing is, College Park, Old National is a part of College Park.
Absolutely.
And Old National serves 3 cities that are responsible for Old National, and we are connected to like 6 cities. So my thing is, how can we come together and talk about the concerns that we have on the corridor?
Great question. One, as I said before we started, I see all of your emails, and they're usually addressed to Ms. Kennedy, Frances Kennedy, who heads up Keep College Park Beautiful. So I assume, and maybe erroneously, that the two of you are having conversations that I'm not seeing. And so if that isn't the case, I apologize. But in terms of representation on council, depending on if you are talking about, forgive me, I'm somewhat directionally challenged, like left side of Godby versus right side of Godby. Like, I'm not sure which east and west, but those would be council members Tracy Arnold and council member Joe Karn. Council member Karn is back toward South Park Cottages. Council member Arnold would cover the Tracy Wyatt Recreation Center on that side.
Okay.
So those two certainly could address some of the concerns. I think, I've said this for years, the Old National Corridor is one of the resources that we have not tapped into as much as we need to. And one of the challenges that I have in this position is for the entire community to recognize that we are all in this together. That what happens on Old National impacts what happens on Main Street.
Correct.
What happens on Cambridge impacts what happens on Godby. Yes. This is one whole community.
Right.
And sometimes we don't always see it that way. Okay. But to answer your question most directly, it's going to be those 2 council members, but certainly you know my email. Yeah. Because you email me all the time. Yes. So if there's anything that you need my direct assistance on, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Yes, that's why I'm coming, because I need some assistance. Okay. Because if they're not responding, then we're here. And the thing is, it's an injustice because we have communities on Old National and we have business owners. We have just as many business owners as Main Street, if not more, because we're serving old Bill Cook to her show. Yeah, and that's 279. Yep. That's the state highway. So thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, yes, sir.
So our charter requires that we have 2 meetings per month, right? City council, mayor and council meetings. And if I remember correctly, the council agreed on dates back in the fall. We are seemingly out of compliance with our own charter when it comes to having those meetings as scheduled. What can we do to compel our council to meet on a regular basis, to hear grievances, to hear our concerns?
So it has been, and I looked over to him at some point, he left, he tapped out, former council member Clay. But it has been through tradition of the council, even with scheduling meetings for the upcoming year, not to have a meeting the first Monday in July and the third Monday in December. That's just, it's been that way for years. So to not have a meeting the week of July 4th has been something that has been very commonplace in a tradition. To not have the second meeting, I'm still unclear as to the rationale. The email that I was forwarded after the fact, Councilmember Arnold indicated that Councilmember Arnold put forth the proposal to not have the meeting in July and said Dr. Adadir and staff could use the opportunity to implement the new budget and the like. So as to your direct question about compelling the council, from everything that I know, we are having a meeting the first Monday of August. I'll be there for it. And if something changes, maybe we'll have another town hall. I'm happy to come back and we can chat some more. But I think it's actually an ordinance that reflects the first and third Mondays and not the charter itself. But I would have to go back and double check that because we've got the charter and then we have ordinances that are more specific, and those can be changed pretty quickly, but the charter itself has some specific processes that outline how it gets changed. While the microphone's getting back to you, I'm going to read another.
Do you want me to wait?
Well, the next question printed out is, what is happening with the building on Mercer in Maine? And so there is some EPA remediation that needs to happen there. They are digging some holes in the ground to determine what kind of pollution may be present, because that used to be the site of a dry cleaner and the service station itself. And so that process takes quite a bit of time. So things are moving. They're just moving slowly. And I think that there were some issues about where we are in the process. I think within the last week or so, if you've passed there, you'll see that they've painted their boards to the same color as the building because it is boarded up, and we have a new ordinance in effect that requires that. And so there's been some back and forth between the owner right now and our code enforcement folks to make sure that everything's going in the right direction.
My question is, you said there's a difference between an ordinance and a change to the charter. You outlined the process of a charter change having to go to the legislature. The ordinance that was passed in January to silence you during council meetings so that is not a change to the charter. Is that correct?
Your statement is correct.
Is a change in the governance not a change to the charter?
A change to the form of the government. So, for instance, if we were to change the size of the council, for instance, if we were to go from 4 to 3 or 4 to 5, that would require approval by the legislature, type of thing. That's a change to the form of the government, because our charter says that the governing body is vested in the mayor and 4 council members. If we were to vest a lot of power in the position of the mayor, that's a change to the form of the government. The city manager is essentially like the chief administrative officer now. I serve as the chief executive. So if those balances changed, that's a change to the form of the government. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
You would not believe how cold it is in this room. It's really, really cold.
Mayor,
yes, sir.
Is there anything legally that can be done to save Bill Evans? We've talked about shouldn't have done this, and this is improper, and this, but is there something legally that can stop that sale and keep that ball field here?
I am a lawyer, but this is not my sandbox. So I'm not the person to ask about what can legally be done.
who would be in your up to state level?
Oh, I thought you meant like God?
God too, probably, but you know.
I can say that one's just outside of that's not my sandbox. So,
Is there anything that you know that's being done?
I don't know of anything officially that's being done.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks.
He's welcome to go. Okay, so yeah, we're talking about the form of government and changes. I have just a question that I don't understand what mayor pro tem is. So I read our charter, and what I could find was, the way I understood it was, if you were out of the building or out of the country on a trip and something needed to happen, mayor pro tem could step in. What I have seen is, if you say you don't want to do something, mayor pro tem will offer, I'll just do it, and like signing documents that you didn't sign. Could you clear that up for me? Like, what is the role of mayor pro tem officially, according to our charter?
I think you're right about how the charter reads.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, sir. I don't think it's on, but there we go.
There we go. My question is this. Who, or rather should I say, how do we as citizens make sure that you are not silenced in council meetings? Because I think as mayor, you have the perspective of all. In other words, we want to hear what you think. You see, we want to know what it is that you think and why you think it, and what gives them the power to silence you. And I don't think that's right. I'm sorry, this is just my opinion. I don't think it's right that you be silenced. But I want to know, how do we make that clear, we as the community, that we don't want a silent mayor?
I think you reach out to your council person and let them know. Have I done all the in-room questions? Look at that. All right. So back to the printed questions, and I think that there's probably some more questions that came in. Is that right? They were asked? Oh, great. Okay. All right. So we are coming into the home stretch here. And it's not even 2 a.m. All right. So this one's a little bit long, but I think it's a really important one. Dispatchers are considered first responders, but aren't paid as such. People feel as though because they are not, quote unquote, in the streets, they merely don't exist. I consider them the heroes behind the scene. They get the same respect as officers, insurance-wise. However, police officers are often given breaks and incentives on housing, i.e. apartment complexes here in the city have and are giving officers 50% off their rent and other incentives to that nature. When dispatchers make on average $10,000 to $13,000 less than these officers and pay full price for rent. The regular rent price is in a decent area in College Park is roughly $1,500 to $1,700. And dispatchers only received a 3% increase, totaling their pay to $43,000 a year. That is a $1,599. That's $1,599 a check. With a differential police pay of 4 hours and insurance on average is about $100 per check. These dispatchers do more than what is required at any other agency. Most agencies, i.e. Clayton and Fulton, have dispatchers to dispatch police and other dispatchers to dispatch fire and other people to answer 911 and admin lines. They also have designated people to do all paperwork, warrants, putting stolen vehicles, guns, and other articles on and off system, and etc., while one College Park dispatcher does all of the above in a 12-hour shift while receiving very little acknowledgement. Dispatchers should be considered and appreciated more than they are. They do not complain, they do not hinder people with problems, and they too help keep our streets safe. Please, please, please tell the city you have a plan. A greater pay or mandated that at least their rent just as officers are taken under consideration. All right, so unless there is something I am not aware of, There's no, like, individual apartment owners make deals to have officers in their buildings. And so I'm getting head nods from Sergeant Paniagua and Officer Gibbons. Yep, okay. And so there's very little that we can do to mandate that. And certainly the pay disparity is largely based on post-certification, which is the training that officers go through to become sworn officers. And so I absolutely wholeheartedly agree that the work that our dispatchers do is vital to what to our needs as a city. And I agree that we have to make their pay even more competitive, because this doesn't happen without them. And when you dial 911, you need to be able to pick it up and hear that somebody's on the other line who's going to walk you through it and make sure that you and your family are safe. We discussed during the budget hearing doing another pay study to make sure that we were in line with other communities, and I believe, hopefully, that will move forward soon so we can make sure that we are on pace with other communities. All right, so there's a question about what's being done about a particular property on Rugby because of their complaints about numerous code violations and unsafe conditions. I don't know particularly about this property, and so I want to look into it and ask our staff about it, and I will reach out to the individual who had that question to get a fuller answer or fuller response. Next question. I understand from a Southside neighbor notification that this month's Planning Commission meeting is taking up zoning regulation changes. What changes are envisioned? How can we move forward without professional guidance since we no longer have the collaborative group, our previous city planners, under contract? I note this meeting is not on the city website. As there have been several instances of major actions taken in a surreptitious manner in the last 7 months, is there cause for concern? I do not know the particular zoning regulation changes. In regard to the collaborative group, the interim city manager is working on trying to bring them back on an interim basis, as their contract ended June 30th. So I am hopeful by the time that we have a planning commission meeting, we'll actually have some city planners. Okay, so next question. What are 3 goals you have for College Park over the next 2 years? And what specifically are you doing, and who are you specifically working with to make those goals a reality? My first goal would be to hire a permanent city manager, because I think, as I said earlier, that position is key in setting the tone for the rest of the organization. And I'm hopeful that through the process that Warren Hutmacher is going to be doing over the coming weeks and months, that we will get to a space in which we can get that position filled and move forward with getting the other key members of the team in place. I think we last looked at our strategic plan in 2020, and there organizations that are really moving forward in a thoughtful way go back to their strategic plans. They go back to their comprehensive plans because it's what our community has said is important, and they rely on those plans for further development. So I think it is time for us to review and revamp our strategic plan to make sure that what we said in 2020 still aligns with where we are in 2024. And if it still encompasses all the things that we care about. And do we need to add things? Do we need to take things away? But I also think that needs to happen after we get a permanent city manager, someone who could help us really home in on the direction that we want to take the city. And lastly, I think that we have a charter that has not been substantially updated since the mid-1960s. And it is not a document that has worn well in those decades. That what our needs are in 2024 do not align with what they were in 1965. And so I think it is in the best interest of our community as a whole that we take a look at that document to make sure that it is addressing our needs as a community as we move forward. And so all of those things take work with the governing body, our staff, and our residents. None of this happens without our residents. So I don't think any of those steps should move forward without citizen input. So I think those are all the questions that I have that were printed out beforehand, and all the questions that were submitted were eventually asked. And I didn't even go through all the water that I have, so I'm good. I don't even need another bottle. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions? Sure. It was such a pleasure. And thank you to those of you who hung out to the very end. It was really fun. I mean, heck, we still did it in less than 3 hours. And thank you, Cameron. I appreciate all of your help and all of the staff for coming. We'll do it again. It was so much fun. And make sure to take some snacks before you go home. Good night, everybody. Take care.